If you're a professional speaker, one of the best things you can do for your career is to write a really strong book and then go out to the media, the mass media, the internet media, anywhere you can go and do interviews. The more controversial your book is, most likely the more you're going to get booked in the media, because controversy sells, as we all know, and they need eyeballs and ears and all those things, and there's a lot of competition out there. So years ago, when I first got started really in the media, I'd written a book called Die Fat or Get Tough, and it was really a mental toughness book for dieters. And then I followed it up a few years later with this one, Fat Loser, a mental toughness training book for dieters. And on the back, I said, stop being stupid. And the premise was really simple. Okay, the premise was, if you're fat, it's your fault. It's not the food companies. It's not the diet. It's not anything else. It's us that makes us fat, right? We decide to do these things. Now, do some people have tougher time losing weight than others, or with their food and all kinds of different variables. Of course, some people have it tougher than others. No question about that. But all those things being said, okay, we're the ones putting the food in our mouth, okay? So we have to take responsibility for our own actions and behaviors and consequences. That's what I said all throughout these two book tours, okay? And I went all over the world. Well, the first show I did on the Die Fat book, okay, was on the Today Show. It was actually the second interview I did was with Kathy Lee Gifford on the Today Show. And I had 3 death threats by the end of the 5-minute interview. 3 people threatened to kill me, so much so that they wouldn't let me out I was in the studio in New York, and they wouldn't let me out of the studio because they were afraid someone's going to shoot me. And so finally they let me go after a couple hours, and I went to Good Morning America the next day, and I did a show on Good Morning America, and you can see it online. It's all available online at steveontv.com. And I got more death threats. And then I went to Europe and I did the BBC, which I had done a lot of times before, and I got threats in Europe. Not death threats, but threats in Europe. Then I went to Australia and toured Australia, and I had all kinds of different threats there. Not quite death threats, but pretty close. And all from saying, you got to take responsibility for your own results. Actions have consequences. Okay, that's it. Well, people didn't like that. They said, "Oh no, it's not our fault. It's the food companies. It's addictive ingredients. It's the stores. It's society. It's everything but us." And my point of this really is, if you're going to take this strategy, use this strategy of going to the media with a really good book that's controversial, and I highly recommend it. It's been worth millions of dollars to us in our business over the years. Okay, because of all the exposure, obviously. Be prepared. Be ready, because they're coming for you. I mean, if you can say something like, take responsibility for your own actions. For example, since that's a lot of years ago this first happened, and I've gained, 20, 25 pounds or something like that since over the last 10 years or whatever it's been. And I take full responsibility for the weight gain. It wasn't not a mistake. It wasn't anything that happened to me. It's not because I'm getting older. Okay, while those variables may play a role in gaining weight, I'm the one that put the food. I like pizza. I like chips. I like stuff like that. It's not good for you. It makes you gain weight. And I take full responsibility for whatever weight I've gained or whatever other result I get that I don't like or that I do like. I'm taking responsibility. That's all it is, a self-responsibility. Okay? So you can make a choice to do it or not, but no one's doing it to us. If you can go out on the road and to the media all over the world and take a message like that, and people threaten to kill you with a common sense message that pedestrian, imagine what they do if you debate them on something that has a little more sophistication to it, that actually might be sort of up in the air, where you say, well, I'm not really sure. Okay, like when I went out for my book, How Rich People Think, one of the things that I talked about with my publicist, and I talked about with some of the people in the media I knew, was they said, well, are you going to say, look, if you're not rich, it's your fault? And I thought about it. I thought, well, no, I can't really say that with any kind of certainty or confidence, because it's not always someone's fault that they're not rich. Even in the richest country in the world, it's not their fault. Sometimes it is. But a lot of times there are other variables in the equation that matter. So I can't really say that the way I said it about gaining weight. So I didn't say it. And I still had people attack me about that book. I still have people this day attack me about that book because it sold hundreds of thousands of copies all over the world. And so there's a lot of people out there reading it, and some people like it and some people don't. But the lesson is to be ready. As long as you're ready for the assault of the common mass consciousness. Okay, remember, most people's belief systems are rooted in fear. Fear, scarcity, and so as a result, they attack something they don't understand. They attack when they feel like you're taking some kind of shot at their self-esteem or their confidence or their lifestyle or their belief system, whatever it is. So be ready for the attack. Now, that said, if you're ready I wasn't ready for death threats necessarily. I'd never had that happen at that level before, but I did get used to it after a while. But if you're ready for it and you can handle it, well, most people in the personal development space, most authors, in my opinion, cannot handle it. That's why they don't do it, because they can't handle the criticism. So that's fine. But if you can, well, that gives you a lot of potential to get in front of millions and millions of people on a yearly basis, just because you can handle the pushback, the blowback. So I highly recommend this strategy. You write a book that is controversial, but it also is something you can defend. You have to be able to mount an adequate and hopefully persuasive defense. So when you go on TV or you go on the radio or you debate someone or you do an interview, you're going to be able to mount that defense, and a lot of people will say, well, he or she has a point. That's really all. You don't have to win the argument. It's not about even winning the argument. It's about having the argument. Why? Exposure. You're getting your viewpoint out, your belief systems out all over the place, to people that you could never reach just by giving speeches. So now your ideas are circling the globe, or at least circling the town or the country or the state, or depending on the level of media that you do. And I mean, just in the last couple of years, I've done, 250 something television interviews alone just from my computer, because everything's gone to Zoom now and it's all changed. So I never have to leave the house to do all these TV shows all over the world, which has been fantastic. You can do this too. Again, just be ready for the pushback. If you're mentally tough enough to handle it, it's one heck of a good strategy to get your beliefs, your worldview, your stories out to the world.